Call the meeting of the fiscal court to order. We appreciate y'all being here this morning. We moved our meeting. We've had a meeting this morning earlier in regard to expanded jurisdiction. Again, the gentleman that we had invited here to talk about it canceled out, could not be here. We're kind of in a dilemma as to whether or not expanded jurisdiction, this is in regard to our inspection of single-family dwellings, whether or not it's mandatory or whether or not it's voluntary. We were under the impression it was mandatory, we had to do it. Our electrical inspector, Cat Spears, talked to the supervisors last week at a meeting, I believe in Louisville. Did he say they knew nothing about it? And they're the people running the show in Frankfurt. So we've asked our county attorney to look into this and report back to the court to see whether or not actually we're going to have to go into the structural inspection of single-family dwellings. So we'll report back to the court at such time as we get the information that we need. Right, of single-family dwellings. This is a structural part. Electrical, we already do, Lloyd. The city of Benton has, I believe, hired someone. Is that what they said? And is going through the classes now to be certified. So it's possible maybe if we have to, we can contract with him. Kyle Odell, our chairman of the Marshall County Conservation District Board of Supervisors, is here this morning. Kyle, we'll yield the floor to you.
Okay, I appreciate you letting me come and speak to you. I just want to come and talk to you on behalf of the Marshall County Conservation District. We had a meeting last year discussing our watersheds, some of our watersheds in the county, and that they have been upgraded. Two of them have been upgraded to a high hazard classification, which is because of the structures that are below them. We have the one on Greekstown Road that has a house and a double wide mobile home below them, and we have the one on Faust Sled Road that has a trailer court below it with not the entire trailer court, but just a few of the trailers there. We have they were reclassified last spring when the Division of Water inspected them and from a low hazard to a high hazard because of these things. We discussed at that meeting last year that Logan County is trying to implement some kind of county ordinance as far as to protect themselves from this occurring in their county. They have we have 4 watersheds in our county. They have 20-something, I think, in their county. So it's not just in Marshall County. This is statewide that this is occurring. But this is something that we're not sure what the situation is. We've been contacted by the Division of Water, telling us that they're concerned about this, and that we have done a breach analysis, which found out would cost up in the millions of dollars to do this. We contacted a home mover to check on just raising the structures that are below those, and we don't know if this would be an option with the homeowners or not, but it was going to be in the up in the several thousands of dollars to do this, and as a conservation district, we're not financially able to do any of these things. We have a situation in the watershed out on 408 where it's a potential that the farm below it, if it ever sold, and was developed with the road frontage that it has and along there, that it would be a very serious matter for us as a conservation district, plus as a county. And we were just wanting to come to and just kind of refresh your memory as far as the meeting we had and remind you about the ordinance that Logan County is trying to implement in their area to prevent things from like this happening. And I didn't know if y'all had discussed this anymore since that meeting, as far as, I know this is something that will take a long period of time to do, and I know Logan County has been working on this for 2 or 3 years, and I don't think they have got it completed yet. So it's a very lengthy process to go through all this, and we just wanted to make sure that the fiscal court still, remembered what the situation was, so that we didn't have a surprise in the future when it came back and something happened, and they said, well, we didn't know anything about this. So we wanted to just come and discuss this with the fiscal court and see what if y'all had taken any action on it, or what y'all's views on it were.
Kyle, if I recall at our meeting that we had down at the judicial building with the Board of Supervisors,
Yes.
the options were, we can drain the lake,
Yes.
or we can build up, and I don't recall how many feet, but
Yes.
both options were very expensive.
Yes, sir.
The district, of course, the monies that they take in are merely to keep it mowed and I guess keep the spillways, take a look at those each year.
Yes, sir.
We have not had a lot of discussion about it since. We did talk about it because we're not sure what role that the fiscal court needs to play or can play in this situation. I have not seen Logan County's proposed ordinance. Have you got a copy of that, Kyle?
I think with that, we had a packet that we put out and gave to y'all at that thing, and I didn't bring a copy of it today, but we do have a copy of it at the conservation office, that we can, if you need another copy, or
Yeah, I
if
do.
the court needs another
because-
copy, we'll be glad to supply everyone with it. I don't have one with me today, but this is something that they are working on and are very concerned because, that it can cause a great deal of problems, and they're talking about, they talk about a catastrophic event, which is, 20-something inches in a 6-hour period or something like that of rain, which, logically we think about, well, that's never going to happen. But it's something that's what that their guidelines are set up on, and that's what we have to go by. And as you said, there was the two options. Two options were draining the structure, breaching it and everything, or raising the spillway, which is both options are very, very expensive. And I know there's just been one case in the state of Kentucky where they did rebuild the entire structure, but it was because of structural defects when they first built it. These structures were built back in the early 60s, and they had a lifespan of 50 years, which we can see has already expired. I think one of them expires either last year or this year, and the other ones are very close to that, being their 50 years are up. So they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're catching the runoff, and the sediment is settling out in them and everything. So they're filling up with with silt and things, but we are responsible for taking care of them, maintaining the structures and things like that. And so when they do build below them, that is a big problem for us. And with the development, not just in Marshall County but statewide, we know that there's houses going up all the time. Mm-hmm. I know back a few years ago they had an auction down on the one by Foul Sled Road, and they advertised it. I think the realty company advertised it as lakefront property, and so we can see that these are problems that we need to address before they really become real big problems. So we just wanted, we wanted to come and just, I know y'all support us and we get most of our funding from you. And so we wanted to just come back and touch base with you. I know, Diana and Vicky have been here before and talked with you. I never have been here myself personally, but we wanted to just kind of keep contact with you as a court and let you know what we were doing and where we were in this matter.
Well, Kyle, at the time that we met, I think we left that meeting kind of open-ended on the ordinance, if I remember correctly, and it's been several months, but
Yes.
I think we did express that we would be interested in going forward with an ordinance if that was the recommendation and you all were going to let us know. So is your purpose today in coming back to say that
We
you do
just
want
wanted,
that?
yeah, we wanted to make sure that, that this was still on your agenda.
Mm-hmm.
That these things are not, these problems are not gonna go away. We hadn't heard anything back from the Division of Water.
Okay.
We had to send them a letter back stating that we were, the steps that we were taking, and one step was meeting with y'all.
Sure.
That was one step that we took, and we did get a cost estimate on raising the houses, and we included that in our letter that we sent back to the Division of Water. And as far as I know, we haven't heard anything else back from them. But, of course, they have meetings, their board has meetings different times, and it may be, they may send a letter back anytime. They do, I think, inspections once a year, and they usually do those in the spring, so those inspections will be coming up in the next 2 or 3 months, that they will be coming down to inspect all the watersheds, and at that time, they may have some other things for us to do. But as far as our options, we have tried to go through the options that we have, and all of them, any of them are gonna be very expensive.
Have you reduced the levels in them? I mean, aren't there valves that just simply can be used to drain?
They're all working like they're supposed to. We inspect them, if we have a big rain, our district conservationist goes out and inspects them. And, if there's anything that needs to be done, I know at this last big rain we had, there was one of them that had, debris on the riser. And when we see that, we get a local contractor or whatever to go out and relieve
But
that.
can we reduce the level in order to?
Well,
to
they're set on
hold more of an event? We talk about a 20-inch and 6-hour event.
Yeah.
So you couldn't, I thought we possibly could reduce the levels in them just from an administrative standpoint, just make a policy that the levels will be maintained much lower than they have been in the past.
Well, like I said, they're 50-year-old structures, so they're designed, and you can imagine that after time, when the water comes in, they're designed to catch the runoff water, so there won't be as much flooding and stuff downstream.
I understand.
So when they come in, the water settles down and the silt settles out, they're designed to fill up. And like you said, if we were to go in, I think, in fact, the owner, these are individually owned. They're owned by individual landowners, and all of them, some of them are owned by the same person, but then there's some of them that are big enough to where there's several different landowners that own part of it. There's one landowner, the one on Griggstown Road, he is taking some dirt out of it, but you've got that's still a very, very expensive project, and that's not something that we have checked into. And I don't know whether, that was one thing that we thought about. We don't know exactly what the Division of Water is basing their estimates on as far as the amount of water that will, that it will hold, and the amount of water that it would take to go over the emergency spillway or whatever. But those are all things that we need to think about, and even to get a breach analysis done, that's several $1,000s to get that done and everything. So we can see, all these things cost money that we as a conservation district, really don't have to do. I know there used to be like a watershed tax, that and that's where we got a lot of our money as far as our maintenance fees for this. But those were disbanded, many years ago. I think back in the late sixties, those were disbanded. And the money was divided up, like the Clark River, watershed district. Part of it went to Graves County, part of it went to Callaway County, part of it went to Marshall County. So we are still using money from that to maintain the structure as far as mowing. We mow it twice in the summertime, or have it mowed, and things of that nature. So all these things cost a lot of money that we, as a conservation district, just don't have. And so that's the reason we're just letting y'all know where we are.
Yeah.
Because this not only involve, this doesn't just affect the conservation district, this affects Marshall County, and a lot of landowners.
I think the conservation district now, the old watershed tax, like you said, Kyle, went away late sixties, early seventies,
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure.
Uh-huh,
And our tax now is 1/2 cent.
yes,
And that primarily, by the time you mow twice a year,
yes,
and just try to keep basic, repairs to the shed, the money's gone. I mean, I don't know how much it takes in a year, Kyle, I'd have to ask.
uh-huh.
Sheriff, do you recall how much
No,
that is?
I don't.
It's a minimal amount,
Yeah.
we know that. And I don't know, if the law requires or would allow, the fiscal court to up that tax in order to set aside money to do the things we're talking about, because this is not something that's gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take a while, but it's, as you pointed out, from what I was told, or we were told down at the meeting, either scenario we looked at was gonna be very, very expensive.
Yes.
And, so, I don't know, any questions of Kyle? I mean, we know the problem, we know what it is.
I mean, obviously, there was no plan to address this matter after the 50 years had passed. I mean, there was nothing in the plan anywhere?
As far as we know, we've met with one of the engineers that was in on building it. And, we've looked at the blueprints and all that. And I mean, the structures are there, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. But as far as we've talked about, hey, can we just turn this back over to the landowner? But that's not an option. We can't do that. Well, as far as, I mean, we're still, the conservation district is still responsible for maintaining and, things like that. And that's what we're doing. I know, in fact, some landowners, we've had to kind of talk to them about different things, about practices that they might have been doing that might have been damaging the structures. And even though they own the land, they still have to go by regulations that does not, make the structure vulnerable for being washed out or something,
So do you all recommend at this point that we move forward with an ordinance? I mean, that was kind of where we left it last time, that you all were gonna.
we need, I think this is not something, that's gonna go away. This is something that other counties are looking at, and, we can tell that, yes, there's probably gonna be problems sometime down the road, here in Marshall County as far as building below these structures, and that's something that's very serious, because we've already had 2 structures that have been upgraded just because there are already houses built below them. I don't know, that one house on Griggstown Road has been there a long time, I know. I don't know, I know it was probably built, it's been built since the structure was there, because the structure was put there in the early 60s probably. The mobile home, I know it's been moved in since then, and the mobile home court on Val Sled Road has developed since that structure was there. So these are all things, and right now, there's really nothing at all that's stopping anybody from developing below these structures. And when they do, it's common sense. You look up and you see a dam there, and on the other side of it is millions of gallons of water, and something could happen to come down. But sometimes people, they don't look at that. They look at hey, I'm gonna build, this is the land I own, and I'm gonna develop it the way I want to. And so that's the problem that we have. So, yes, it would be to our advantage as a conservation district, and I think to Marshall County, to have some kind of ordinance in place to, prevent development below these structures.
Judge, is that something that we can look at, the sample ordinance that Logan's?
Well, certainly
in
we
development.
can look at it. The problems we may run into is being restrictive when we have no land use planning and zoning.
Plus,
Are we-
the
are
problem
we-
remains, Judge, even if we enact an ordinance, the problem that he's explained to us still remains.
Right,
So how are we gonna
exactly.
address that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Structures
two-pronged
are already there.
It is,
problem
right.
here.
It does
But-
at least give them a warning, though. I
Well,
think that's
yeah,
what you
I
all
mean,
had
certainly we-
We
explained.
need an ordinance, I think.
Certainly
We need to
we'll-
do exactly
we'll
what
look
he's
at their
saying, but
ordinance as
I'm equally concerned about the existing problem. What are we gonna do about it? It's filling up, as you say. There's no plan in action to address this matter 50 years ago, after the 50 years expired, obviously, or we'd have money in escrow to fix it. So now we're gonna try to fix it now. How are we gonna do that?
And this is something that, I mean, this is not just Marshall County. This is statewide, and this is something that all the conservation districts are looking at, statewide. And as far as I know, Logan County is the only one that's actively pursuing this as far as getting something in writing so that, like you said, people are warned at least, you know, that hey, you're not supposed to build below
course-
this dam.
The old watershed tax, Commissioner Anderson, was used, and it was Marshall, Callaway, and Graves, I believe, in our district at that time, and they called it the watershed district. And there was a watershed tax, nothing to do with the conservation tax, that was separate. But the watershed tax was mainly to be used to maintain the watersheds in the three-county area. And for whatever reason, the tax was voted out, went out, the board did it, or I don't know. I was back before my time, but anyway, they dissolved the district. What money was there, as Kyle said, they divided up between the three counties. And that money has been used over the years just to try to maintain, as best we can, the 4 watershed lakes we have in the county. That money's been gone for a while, I guess, Kyle, hadn't it? Pretty
Well,
much.
Probably so. I mean, of course, it's in a CD and
Yeah.
it's drawing interest in things, but, you know, yeah, it gets dwindled down every year.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty
Jeff?
sure that trailer court's already been flooded once. I mean, it might not have got up in the trailers, but they couldn't get to their trailers.
Jeff, if we create an ordinance, do we have an issue because we don't have
Well,
countywide planning and
yes,
zoning?
that's your first step, because basically, and the thing that Logan County's going through is that this basically constitutes a partial condemnation of those properties in limiting the owner's current use, which makes it difficult and not very popular.
It basically
pursuit.
devalues their properties, is that what
Right.
you're?
And the
right?
other thing, I mean, Kyle, correct me, but I believe that one fella that spoke to us that day, his other suggestion was, these things get to their 50-year life, they may determine they need to be breached, and the watershed's done away with.
That was, you know, that's an option, but
It's the cheapest one.
that opens up a whole new, you know, things, but with, you know, that goes back to what we had before we ever had the watersheds, because you know, when you open it up, that's gonna affect people downstream tremendously, you know, so, I mean, the watersheds were built for a reason. They didn't, and they were putting the places that they're put in for a reason, and those reasons have not changed. So if we breach the watersheds, which is still gonna cost a lot of money, you know, you're still opening up, you're still gonna have problems, a different kind of problem, you know? So this is just something that we wanted to bring to your attention, and, And we don't have the answers for it for sure, but it's something that we need to all work together on to try to come up with maybe a solution. Maybe not the answer that everybody wants, but a solution that will maybe help solve our problems.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all letting me come and talk with you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you very
And give
much.
me another copy of that if you don't care.
We will.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
I'll try to get a hold of my counterpart Logan Chick, there in Logan County. Kind of get an update on, because I don't think they have land use planning and zoning either. I don't believe, now I may be wrong,
Okay.
but I'll check. Becky Cornwell, a director of the Need Line, give us a little report on our light show this year.
Well, Judge, we finally got all of our final numbers in, and we ended the year just under last year's, but with the economy and all, I think we really feel blessed with the turnout that we received. Our car count, I'm not sure if it was accurate or not, but I don't feel like it was, because I don't think there was that drastic of a change in our count from last year to this year. But this is, the count they sent us was 18,453 vehicles through the park. Part of that was estimated, there was, the counter didn't start, Larry, till the 28th, am I right? So I just sort of guesstimated the first section by an average, and,
Yeah, it appears because our donations are so close to
Right.
last year, and we had 32,386 vehicles come through, to drop down to 18.
I know,
I
it's-
agree, I think that's a little shy.
yeah, I think it is too. I don't think their counter was totally accurate on that, but at any rate, the food count did remain at 30,426 items or pounds, and the food, or the cash donations was at $50,253. And again, our county and surrounding counties are very, very blessed to support this project. We have awesome backbone to the project with the fiscal court, the county park workers, Paul and Shane, and everybody else that kicks in and helps with this. We even had Jeff out there as Santa one night, and just all the volunteers, the churches, and the businesses and organizations that step up and help us as well. So we just want to say thank you, and we do appreciate another wonderful year. We look forward to next year.
And I'm like you, Becky, with the economic situation. I think the last 2 years have really surprised us.
Yes, they have.
With our donations being, staying up where they are, I think it's amazing, but this sure helps Needline to continue to provide services to our people. Without it, we'd be in trouble.
Exactly. And I was sitting there looking at these numbers this morning, and I thought, 13 years ago when Paul Cathy came and talked to me about moving this from his place out to the park, and I thought, well, that'd just be awesome, because he did $3,694 the first year out there. And I thought, wow. But never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that 13 years down the road that I'd be sitting there looking at nearly $500,000, $449,000 that's been raised through that park for our organization.
It's great.
And it's fed a lot of people here in Marshall County. So we just want to thank you all.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Is there anybody else here to address the court? Before we get into correspondence, we said goodbye yesterday to a dear friend, Juanita Hargrove, who, although Juanita was not a member of the court, she might as well have been putting up with me and Gordon for 30-some years, and the good times and the bad times, and we will miss Juanita. Today, Mr. Uke Connor, his funeral, I believe, is at 1 o'clock. Uke was a faithful employee of Marshall County for many years. He was our grader operator. I don't know how many years he had in Russell, but he was there a long time. Uke was 91, Bob?
92, I think.
92 years old. But we'll miss Mr. Uke as well. Moving into correspondence, we have a letter from Mr. Les Landers. Les said, "Dear Judge Miller, with this letter, I am tendering my resignation from the Marshall County Sanitation District Number 1 Board of Directors. However, I will still maintain my position as the state licensed operator of this system, but will no longer be involved in the administrative area of the system. Mr. Les Landers. Les has agreed to stay on as our licensed operator until Mike, who's going through classes now, can be certified as our operator. I certainly commend Mr. Landers and his wife for all the work they have put in, keeping that system going over the years. It's, without him, our system would have been shut down years ago, I can guarantee you that. On Saturday, at Olive Methodist Church, there will be a grave marker dedication at 1 o'clock at the Olive Methodist Church Cemetery to honor Parenthea Pone Harrison. She was a former slave, was born a slave around 1847 to the family of Augustus Harrison of the Olive community. She was freed from slavery following the Civil War, but continued to live with the Harrison family, where she worked as a cook and a caretaker of the Harrison children. She died in 1912, and they had to bury her at night because of segregation laws prevented blacks from being buried in the same cemetery as whites. And on the night of her death, she was taken to the cemetery in the back of a horse-drawn wagon and secretly buried at the foot of Augustus Harrison's grave. Descendants of Augusta Harrison and members of the Olive community will dedicate a proper headstone donated in part by our county coroner Mitchell Lee, owner of Keepsake Monuments in Benton. That will be Saturday, February 23rd at 1 o'clock at the Olive Methodist Church Cemetery. From Jeff, just a reminder to the court and to the people of Opal Lane, following the public hearing and subsequent vote of the Marshall County Fiscal Court to accept Opal Lane to the county road system, I have prepared a quitclaim deed for all of the residents along the road, deeding the 40-foot right-of-way to Marshall County. As of this date, it has not been executed by all of the parties. I don't know, how many do we like, Jeff? Do you know?
3.
We like 3. So probably we need to get a hold of somebody who lives on the road, either
Actually, Judge, what I have done.
Mr. Lockett's aware of that.
Henry's aware. Maybe Henry will get fire built under a couple of them and get them. I guess it's just a matter they have not had an opportunity to come in. I don't.
Also, I took the file home with me, and I thought I might feel better this weekend and go get them to sign it, and I just live a couple of miles from them as crow flies. Did not feel like getting out, so. there's
Okay,
three
there's
people.
3. All right, we'll stay on that. All right. Any other correspondence from anybody?
The only thing that follows that, I mean, I don't know if there's a problem, why that hadn't been done, but I don't know that the county ought to do any more work until that, we get that deed. I mean, it's just the but that does show, I mean, if these people are withholding for a reason, then we need to know that before we do anything on it.
Well, it would appear silly to me to put up $10,000 and then not sign it. I mean, but,
agree.
you know, we'll,
But legally, we need
I-
that for title.
I understand.
Jeff, I'll see if I can take it out there and get them to sign it this afternoon. I couldn't find phone numbers for 2 of them, but I got the addresses.
You got to have board meeting this afternoon.
Well, after work.
Oh. All right. In old business, you've all received the minutes of the February 11, 2012 meeting of the fiscal court. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the meeting? Not, I
Motion to
entertain a
approve the
motion.
meeting.
Have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. At our last meeting, we had a request from the, I guess, folks from the American Cancer Society, wanting us to be a sponsor, for Relay for Life. We did not put that in the budget this year, did we, Emily?
No,
And I don't think we sponsored last year, did we?
No.
We did not. So we just kind of delayed any action on it last week. So what's your thoughts? If you've had an opportunity to think about it? We could of course, any of it individually will support Relay for Life. It's not,
Certainly support
not a
it, yes.
question of not supporting Relay, it's just a question of our budgetary restraints that we have.
Judge, I think in light of our budget issues that we're dealing with, that we probably should just donate ourselves or let the community support this. That's all I know we can do at this
All
point.
right, that's what I was thinking, Terry. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I agree.
I don't think we'll need a formal motion, Terry. All right. At our last meeting, we did accept mowing bids, and we were a little bit surprised at the low bid. From high to low, there was quite a bit of discrepancy there, and we asked Larry to check to make sure that our apparent low bidder knew exactly what he was bidding, and Larry, you talked to him and seemed, he understood.
Yes, sir, I talked to Keith Westfall from Main Sea Landscaping, who was the lowest bid at $18,000. That was the bid he wanted to put in. Mr. Westfall actually did the mowing year before last, and he has got all the specifications. I think he's already come in and given his insurance to Emily, so I would suggest to the court that we accept that bid, $18,000 low bid.
Did he not turn in a $38,000 bid the year before?
Yes, he did.
Did you ask him about that?
Yes, I did. He thought that, since he had it year before last, he assumed that no one would turn in a low bid, and he was trying to get it up a little higher the next year, and backfired on him, so this year he went back to a low one. And apparently he has some other mowing bids and knew that some of the others that had bid on it this year would be fairly low, so he wanted to make sure that he received that bid, which was good for us.
You'll be monitoring, I'm assuming.
Oh, sure.
He did
I might-
fine the other time.
Yes, he did
has
good
a-
year before
He has
last,
an
so.
extensive business, I'm sure. he can
Right.
take
Motion to
care of
accept the low bid, Judge.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
it. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. At our last meeting, we decided not to accept any bids on the crane because we felt like we could get more for scrap than what was bid. In the meantime, we have had an offer. Russell, just tell the court.
One of the guys that bid on it before, the high bidder, he just offered to pay X amount of dollars more than what it would bring for scrap.
And Russell asked me if that would we be willing to do that? I have no problem with it at all, but I wanted to check with Jeff to make sure that the law would allow us to go back and accept that proposal. Jeff, you
Well, I think
thought-
once you bid it and, you know, you rejected those, this wouldn't be any different than selling it for scrap. I mean, you've gotten considerably more, over twice as much than the highest bid was, I believe, at this point. So I think you've fulfilled your requirements under the statute, and you have getting the most for this piece, this property.
No one else has approached you and made any kind of an offer? So everyone's had an opportunity to bid on it?
Yes.
Because we advertised it,
Right.
and this guy's willing to pay more than the highest bid.
more than the scrap. He
Yeah,
was
more
the
than-
high bidder.
Yeah.
And we rejected it.
But he's gonna pay more than the highest bid.
Right.
Yes,
Yes, considerably.
So if it's legal, I make a motion to accept it.
I agree.
All right, we have a motion and a second to allow Russell to sell the crane with the offer being above the scrap price value. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Any other old business?
Judge, I don't know if
Yes.
y'all, if you need to do that or not. I was looking at the minutes there, last meeting, whenever, turned in the fees and asked for monies back for the vehicle. I'd mentioned to amendment to my budget, for that, and it wasn't put in the minutes as such. I don't know if we need to clarify that or whatnot, because I've got to send an updated copy to the governor's office, adding those monies to my budget. And it wasn't in the minutes, but I didn't know if y'all needed to do that. Do y'all understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What we did, Kevin gave us a check for excess fees of 180, wasn't it, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
We turned around and wrote him a check
That won't be,
for 90,000 to buy 3 vehicles.
Vehicles, yes.
And I think what Kevin is saying, that's not reflected in his budget. Would we need to do that, or just say the
Well-
court bought the vehicles? I don't,
Well, I had asked for, when I asked for the 90,000,
Right.
it's to be an amendment to my budget, and we did make a motion to that, but it wasn't reflected in the minutes. I didn't know if we needed to clarify that now to get that done, or what we need to do with it. I mean, it
Judge,
doesn't
when I
matter either
sheriff, I
way.
did the same thing, and you all just paid, you all paid for the vehicles,
Yeah.
and that was the end of that. So I don't know, I never had to amend the budget.
Well, I just
well,
want to
what
make
we
sure.
did, we wrote Kevin a check.
Yeah.
That's what Kevin's
That
saying.
may be the difference.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Tam wrote me a check or not. Well, I don't remember having to address it.
Well, to be sure,
You all may have just paid for the cars, I think.
I may have. So what should we do, Jeff? Just put it in the minutes that we have allowed Kevin to amend his budget to purchase 3 cars.
Probably since you
All
gave
right.
him the money back, you probably need to.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't
That would
reflected
be
in
my
the
thought.
minutes, and that's why I was asking of that, yeah.
It needs to reflect that it's not a return of any excess fees, that this is a separate
Right.
contribution to his subsidy for equipment.
Yeah, because
See,
you
which
know, we
make
may
it-
not
which
be able
makes
to
it a
add
budget
$90,000 every year to his budget.
Exactly.
So
Right,
yeah.
it's a special one-time.
this, I guess the motion would be that we have made a one-time, amendment to the sheriff's budget
Right.
of $90,000 to allow him to purchase 3 new vehicles for the sheriff's department.
I'd make that motion, Judge.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Appreciate that, just a little housekeeping item.
Any other old business? Let's move into new business. Our animal control training, have we thought any more? And I know, Jeff, have you had time to look at those videos? I mean, were they pretty good? I mean, I don't think it'll suffice. We still want the training. Just when do we want to send and where? Wendy has looked into the nearest, the close, I mean, the soonest would be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And then we have one in Memphis, one in St. Louis, one in Louisville. Now, you've got level 1 and level 2. Misty and I discussed that. I don't think it matters. You can take level 2 and then go back and take level 1. It's kind of reversing. But it would be hard to have, get both of them training at the same time unless we can get a backup for that week or 2 weeks, to have someone on call, is what I'm saying. I don't know how y'all want to handle it.
Would Jimmy, you think Jimmy would be
I could-
willing to
I
sit
could-
in for a week or so while they were being trained?
I could talk to him.
Dennis said that Golden, he had spoken to Golden, and Golden said he would help out while they were training as well, so maybe we can, we can go, but Dennis said to me.
That should work.
Okay,
Check with Jim and see what he'd say.
Okay.
What's the
We-
training in Baton Rouge? Is that,
That's level 1.
It's level 1, it's the first week of April, like I think it starts in the 4th.
course, I don't know if it fly or drive 9, it's about 9 hours. I go down there occasionally.
And we did at the last meeting, I think we did, join the national,
Yes.
which helped us in,
Yes.
in their fees. So,
So what was the cost to send two to level one? Because I know it was a savings to send those together. Do you recall? Like 2,500 maybe? Somewhere
Yeah, I
around
think
there.
the total of the two trainings is about 6,000, so probably about 6,000 each training to send both out.
5,800 is what? Was
Yeah,
that
we
both
had
of them?
that-
5,800?
we had,
To go to both.
last month, we had the numbers on that, Misty, and I can't remember.
I think it was like 5,800. So if we sent both of them to level one, you're looking at about half that. And then maybe we could send them to level two, maybe in the next fiscal year, after July.
But we don't know about scholarship dollars either, do we?
We don't.
And it's only for 1 year, right? Isn't it one scholarship per person per
Per
year?
person per year.
Right.
Per class, so like they'll only give one.
The scholarship is for $525, only eligible for one, but we had to be a member of the National Animal Control Association, which we have sent our money in, I guess, for that. Is that right, Wendy?
Did that last week for us, and then, I'm gonna get confirmation from them that they have it, and then we can file the scholarship. But to do the scholarship, they have to have 45 days notice, so we need to make a decision today so that I can get it in within the term.
Okay. You're gonna do it contingent on being able to cover,
Get back up.
Yeah.
So-
that way we can, that would allow Wendy to go ahead and apply
Right.
for that scholarship.
So I'd make a motion that we send our animal control officers to level one, Baton Rouge, Louisiana in April, contingent upon the ability to have backup animal control that week.
All right, you
Second.
heard the motion, second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. At the last meeting, we were talking about equipment for the animal control officers. Sheriff Myers, I think y'all remember, said, well, I gave them a list of what I use for my deputies.
Yeah,
Whether or not we need all that, I don't know. I mean, that's up to y'all. I'm sure some of it's needed, for sure. I just don't know how much. But what Kevin did, and Kevin said, I'm not trying to push anything, but if we go through Kevin, we can get a discount, right, Kev? Yes, sir. So, have y'all given any thought to that?
Judge, I think maybe we should just wait till we see what their training consists of, and then when we get our policy and procedure in place, I mean, I'd hate to give somebody handcuffs
Yeah,
before we have a
right.
policy and procedure.
Right, I
That would kind
understand.
of
I understand.
guide that use, but
Are
that's
they
just
gonna
me.
be qualified to have, service revolvers? Or do we want them to have them in the first place? See, I'm not sure what this training consists of. I know
No,
if Kevin hires a man right now, it's gonna take most of a year before he can turn him loose by himself on the street. I'm not sure we wanna have service revolvers and handcuffs either at this point until we know what we're dealing with.
Right.
I'm not sure
And
what this
that's why I
training.
suggested, giving a list to let you know what the costs are, but it would be definitely left up to you guys on what you
Yeah.
let
My
them
thinking
be able
initially
to
was,
do.
Judge, is if there's a situation where these guys are responding involving an altercation, he's gonna wind up there, he or his men, at any rate.
Right.
They're gonna be there,
Right,
ready to go.
and be
I was-
glad to assist them in any way possible.
I was
And-
hoping this training would teach these guys where to stop.
Well, that's
Back up.
probably, Misty's got a good idea. Let's wait to see what the training says and
Right.
then make that decision. We can always
Modify
purchase,
and
yeah,
add to.
purchase.
I do know, Judge, that they said they needed a new catch pole. I do recall them making that request the other day, so I don't know if maybe that's something that you all could look at, because there's two of them and they're not just one out in a vehicle. I know they said one of their catch poles is not in very good shape.
And we need to understand, we need to make sure they understand that not to hesitate to contact dispatch for help from the
Exactly.
sheriff's office.
Well,
They don't need to be in put themselves in a bad
I will tell
situation.
you this, their radio communication, since we've, given them radios on the analog system, they have been doing that, and that is gonna be much, much better on a safety issue, to know where they are, and if they need help, all they gotta do is radio dispatch, and we can be on the way to help, so that's working
Good.
very, very well.
Thank you for doing that. So do we have to approve something like that for him to get that equipment? I don't know the
How much
cost.
do they cost? I don't have. a
Wendy, have
clue.
you looked up any of those? I wouldn't think they're just a
Wouldn't
whole
think
lot.
it'd be that much, but we can go ahead and get it on the record that we authorize our animal control officer to get another catch boat.
Make a motion, we do.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
And hopefully, I will have a vehicle ready for them maybe by the end of this week, hopefully.
Good, good. Okay, budget workshop. Look at your schedules and tell me what's the earliest that you might be able to sit down with Emily and I to begin preliminary work.
I'm pretty open, Judge, whatever suits everyone else.
Are you doing the plant manager's forum next Thursday?
I'm in.
Is that something you
Probably.
could
I
just
usually
add
go.
on to that, or? The plant manager's forum is next Thursday. Would that be an option, the 28th, so that Bob could kind of combine that and not have to take separate time?
I won't,
You
yeah,
won't be here.
I won't be here.
You won't be here then?
We do have Stacy Courtney coming over at 1:30. I think that's on the rural roads. We have to have is that right? We have to have a meeting and,
So,
I mean, this is just something that
On the
won't take
28th?
long. Yeah.
Okay, but, I mean, anytime, anytime.
Now, the
so
the
far.
meeting with the plant managers is at 11 at the Calvert City Hall, Calvert Training Center there, City Hall, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so then we could come back here. Stacy's meeting, like I said, shouldn't,
February the 28th at 1:30.
right, shouldn't last long. If we could meet that afternoon for a while,
Fine with me.
that'd be all right with everybody?
Yeah, that'd be fine with
What
me,
time?
just wait till the, what,
Well, I'd like y'all here with the Stacy Courtney meeting, because it
1:30.
really, is our real road meeting.
1:30.
Yeah. Just set it for that. All right. You've all had an opportunity to review the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay the bills.
Have a motion, is there a second?
second?
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Any other business come before the court?
If there's any way, if y'all could kind of come up with some roads y'all want to blacktop, it would help us out a whole lot by changing out culverts instead of changing them out the day before the blacktop. It'll give them time.
Well,
I mean, it's
Misty
been
and I-
done before.
Misty and I was talking this morning. I know each of you have kind of got a list, and unfortunately, the list is way more than what money
Oh,
we
yeah.
got. So I want you to look at them very closely and prioritize, 1, 2, and 3, 4, whatever.
And I've got one, Judge, I guess when Russell's been talking about Curd, that it was impacted by the ice storm debris movement that they had said that they would take care of.
They promised us that, Bob, and
And
we
they
have.
have begun to try to renege on that.
Well, they're trying to renege. We said, now, wait a minute. You guys are the ones that said this, not us. Curd Road and what's the other one,
Flat.
Russell?
Flat.
Flat Road. And they
And
said,
both of them
"Oh,
were impacted by this.
oh, yeah, we remember. I said, wait a minute, you said if we'd let y'all use that as debris, dump sites, that once this was all over, this event was over, you'd come in and repave those roads. So
10 years worth of heavy trucks across that road over that period
Absolutely.
of time. I guarantee you they did.
They told me
We've already changed the sewers out, expecting them to come back and pay it.
last week they was kind of not wanting to do it. Then Mike Oliver called me about 3 days after that, and he was trying to do some figuring on some money, and he mentioned Curd Road.
Well, Mike's always told me they were gonna do it. It was someone else that
He
did it.
mentioned both of them, but
Okay.
he said he didn't know if they needed to just write us a check and go under our contract, or use their contract is gone for right now.
Right.
Ours is still good till June
June
30th.
30th,
Right.
correct. I thought ours was a little less than that.
And we don't care whose contract they use, as long as they do it. I think that, like you,
Well,
Bob,
anyway,
I
I'm
think,
just hoping
I think
that they're
they'd
not
save
gonna
money if
back
they
up.
used ours.
Yes, I think they will too, a little bit.
I think there's more flagging and stuff, and more signs figured in on theirs.
Yeah,
Their contract and his county contract.
That's probably what it is, yeah.
okay. Any other business?
Judge, did you wanna have an executive session on that issue that we
Oh, yes,
discussed earlier?
yes.
Just a
If
brief-
we could have a quick executive session on a personnel issue, we will not be
Be very
long.
brief.
Why does everybody laugh?
All right.